On a clear, serene morning, Jesus walked along the shore of Lake Galilee calling his disciples. Among them, Judas Iscariot, a man with an intense gaze and complex thoughts, felt attracted by the Master's aura. He joined the group, drawn not only by Jesus' words of love and hope, but also by his ambition for a glorious future. The other disciples saw Judas as a shrewd man whose skills as a treasurer were valuable, but something in his deep gaze indicated an inner restlessness. The months passed and community life was intense. The disciples saw miracles, heard profound teachings and shared moments of joy and challenges. Judas stood out in discussions about the importance of political liberation. Deep within, a growing desire for action took hold of his heart. He believed that the coming of the Messiah meant an earthly kingdom, where Israel would be restored and Romanesque oppression would be abolished. But as the days went by, Judas found himself more frustrated with Jesus' resistance to directly confronting the authorities. Judas struggled between faith and doubt. Jesus' message was one of love and forgiveness, but Judas' desire for power and recognition became a shadow. Some nights, while the other disciples slept, he walked alone, reflecting on his choices. It was in this moment of solitude that the tempter whispered in his ear, promising him riches and influence if he would help capture Jesus. Doubt and ambition began to form a moral dilemma that tormented him, fueling his betrayal. One night, in an obscure tavern, Judas met with the chief priests and religious leaders. The room was filled with intrigue and promises. They offered 30 pieces of silver in exchange for handing over Jesus. The shine of the coins clouded his judgment. Judas looked at the faces of the priests, and adrenaline pulsed through his veins. He imagined how he could use this money to improve the lives of his people, but an inner voice warned him about the consequences of his actions. Even so, ambition won, and he sealed the deal with a handshake. On the night of the Last Supper, while Jesus broke the bread and distributed the wine, Judas sat at the table, his heart heavy. The Master spoke about love, sacrifice and a new pact. Jesus' gaze, full of compassion and understanding, penetrated the soul of Judas. He knew that the moment of betrayal was approaching, but the pressure of what he had decided dominated him. When Jesus announced that one of them would betray him, the atmosphere was filled with tension. The other disciples questioned who it could be, and Judas felt the guilt and weight of his choices. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the atmosphere was thick with prayer and anguish. Jesus retired to pray, while the disciples fought against sleep. Judas, surrounded by darkness, arrived with the soldiers and religious leaders. The plan was underway. With a kiss, he identified Jesus, handing him over to the destiny he had chosen. The touch of the kiss, which was supposed to be a sign of affection, turned into an act of betrayal, and the pain of that choice began to reverberate in her heart. After arrest, Jesus was brought to trial. Judas followed the scene from afar, tormented by what he had done. The crowd's clamor for crucifixion echoed in his ears, and the reality of the act never left his mind. The weight of the 30 coins seemed to crush his spirit. He realized that ambition had led him down a path of no return. With each blow Jesus received, Judas' heart broke, and guilt slowly consumed him. After arrest, Jesus was brought to trial. Judas followed the scene from afar, tormented by what he had done. The crowd's clamor for crucifixion echoed in his ears, and the reality of the act never left his mind. The weight of the 30 coins seemed to crush his spirit. He realized that ambition had led him down a path of no return. With each blow Jesus received, Judas' heart broke, and guilt slowly consumed him. Consumed by grief, Judas tried to return the coins to the priests. "I betrayed an innocent man," he shouted, the desperation in his voice echoing off the walls of the room. But the religious leaders dismissed it, saying it was not their problem. Loneliness and betrayal became his only companion. In a bitter turn of events, Judas realized that the quest for power and recognition could not replace the genuine connection he had with Jesus, the man he had betrayed. In a moment of despair and without hope, Judas went in search of redemption, but he did not find it. The darkness surrounding him was deeper than he imagined. He decided to end his life, unable to bear the pain of what he had caused. Suicide was a silent cry for forgiveness and liberation. As his body fell, a part of his soul cried out for a new beginning, a desire to redeem the betrayal that would become his legacy. The story of Judas Iscariot resonates through the ages, not just as a tale of betrayal, but as a warning about the consequences of inordinate ambition and a lack of connection to the truth. He teaches us that even those who walked alongside Jesus can lose their way, but also that repentance and the search for forgiveness are paths to redemption. Jude, despite his betrayal, reminds us that we all face battles within and that the choice of love, truth and community is always the one that leads us to the true light.